Okay, welcome to the Black Box of Media brought to you by Ultimate Edge Communications. I'm your host, Aleisha McCall, and this is episode 1. This podcast is all about lifting the lid on hidden strategies behind high performance media advertising. If you've ever wondered why some campaigns deliver incredible results and others fall flat, this is where we are going to break it all down. In each episode, I sit down with marketing experts, media buyers, and brand leaders to reveal the tactics, insights, and real world case studies that drive results. No fluff, no jargon, just actionable advice to help you cut through the noise and make media work harder for your business. Whether you're a CMO, a marketing manager, or a business owner that's looking for an edge, this is your backstage pass to results-driven marketing. So let's together unlock the black box of media and transform the way you think about advertising. Now, today I am absolutely thrilled to introduce to you our very first podcast guest, all the way from Toronto, Canada, Liana Ling. So Liana is an absolute powerhouse in online marketing. She's renowned for her expertise in crafting profitable paid advertising campaigns. She has a remarkable track record of developing innovative strategies that transform browsers into buyers, maximizing ROI for her clients. Beyond her technical prowess, Liana excels at demystifying complex concepts and mentoring others in the digital marketing arena. She's a sought-after consultant and speaker, dedicated to empowering agencies and business owners to become leaders in the digital world. So, Liana, welcome to the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
It is a pleasure to be here and an honor. Thank you so much.
No, absolute pleasure. Now, before we get into the deep, today's episode is going to be all about AI and automation and how we turn this hype that's around AI right now, this energy, this buzz, how we actually turn that into tangible and actionable results for marketers and CMOs to really make sure that they get the impact that they're looking for from these strategies. But maybe before we get into this, do you want to just give us a background on how you got here today?
Oh, wow. Well, I actually started off my professional life as a lawyer, and I was doing litigation and banking and corporate law. And then after about, I think it was about 8 or 9 years of that, I actually moved into becoming a full-time entrepreneur. And that's when I started diving into digital marketing way back when Facebook was first doing, ads and we had no idea about AI and automation. Like I just remember the first time when this is probably dating me, but I remember when all the landing page builders started to come out and we were so amazed, like, wow, it's drag and drop, like you no longer had to learn code and things like that. And I feel like we're going through sort of a little bit of that evolution right now with all the tools that are coming out.
100%. No, I couldn't agree more. So let's get into this meaty stuff around AI that I know you and I have both had some previous discussions on. So, how do you think businesses can approach AI and really automation? So, if we think AI automation and that sales process automation, how do you think they can approach that to actually drive real efficiency in their business? So, without getting caught up in the hype that we are literally experiencing right now.
Yeah, and I know it can be really overwhelming. Like it can even be overwhelming for someone like me even, and I'm sure you because like there's something new. Probably as we've been speaking, there's probably been what 10 SaaS that have been launched since we've
Spot
been
on.
speaking, right? Right. So I know it can be very overwhelming. So this is what I usually let entrepreneurs know and business owners know. I said, first of all, embrace part of this as play and experimenting. Like, even if you set aside half an hour just to play with it and don't expect anything, like just to see how something works, give yourself permission to do that. And then it won't feel so, I think, like frustrating either when you start to dive in and really trying to make it do what you want. Because in that mode of playing, you'll just get used to, like, okay, what buttons to push, or this tends to happen. I do find that a lot of the AI tools tend to follow a sort of like a similar interface, even like the very technical ones as well. So if you can actually just try just a handful of them, you'll start to kind of get used to all the other new ones coming on the market. So that's the first thing I say is embrace the play part of it to adjust your expectations that it's going. I always say it's kind of like making pancakes. Usually when you make your first pancake, you have to throw it out. So this is like your pancake, mode right here,
You know what?
right?
That's very reassuring because I was talking to a client yesterday saying I've literally spent, I think, 20 hours in the last week just in these AI platforms and really immersing myself and understanding the pros and the cons and then really starting to create some things. And I think that's a great analogy is that first pancake is just not going to look good. It's not going to taste good. You're going to have to throw it out. So very,
Exactly,
yeah.
because I've seen people try it and go like, "Oh, this doesn't do what I want," and then they just say AI is horrible. I'm not going to try it. So if you come into it with that perspective, then I think you'll get a lot more out of it. The second thing is I think really understanding how AI, and I'm glad you said AI and automation together, because I find that's the trick, right? To really get what we want out of it. I find that for business purposes, you need to understand really how it can benefit your business. And a friend of mine told this to me, and I've never forgotten it. He said it solves the golden triangle. So, have you heard of that term before, the golden triangle?
No, please share.
So, well, okay. So when I mean, and even in your own business, right? And I'm sure with your clients, whenever
Mhm.
you're trying to make decisions about how to execute, you're either trying to figure out how you can do it cheaper or faster or better. And what happens if you find a cheaper way? What usually do you have to sacrifice?
Well, you have to say sacrifice quality, right? Straight away, you
Right?
know that you're going to be sacrificing quality.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. And it might be faster and cheaper,
Mhm.
but you're probably sacrificing quality. So if you pay more for quality, what are you probably sacrificing?
You're probably paying, sorry, then probably it's going to cost you more, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be slower. Right.
Yeah.
But the cool thing with AI, and I've noticed this too, almost every AI and automation sequence or workflow that we put together, it pretty much solves it. It makes it better, faster, and cheaper. And even if we make it cheaper and faster and maintain the standard, we're actually happy with that, right?
Hmm.
Because then we're still leveling up because then we can do things more urgently, we can do it at volume, and then we as humans can actually focus on higher level activities and strategies. So when you understand that, I always tell people measure what you want to test against that. Is it going to help make whatever it is that you want to do better, faster, cheaper? So yes, play, have it create, I don't know, like a vegan hamburger recipe for you or something like that, right? Or write a like there's an AI called Suno, which is so much fun to use. Have you tried it? You can
Suno.
make songs with it. Suno, SUNO.ai. And
Okay,
like
I'll
my
check it
son
out.
used it to, oh my gosh, you could probably do it like here live if we want to, but you can make songs with it. Okay. So this is an
Wow.
example of just how it helps you to use it. But like my son made a song in the style of like samba about a boy who loves macaroni and cheese. Like, and it was just so much fun
Wow.
to see
Yeah.
what comes out of it.
And super
But at the same
creative.
time, you're learning prompts. You're
Hmm.
learning how, like, oh, it didn't actually come out the way I wanted it to,
Yeah.
right? So that's part of the play part. But then a business will be like, well, why would I need this? Well, okay, now you don't have to hire somebody to create a jingle, right? Or if you have a podcast like this, you could actually use it to create a podcast intro and
Mhm.
test different ones of those, right? Or even test it on ads. I do a lot of Facebook advertising and I love to test. And testing music is actually not something I do a lot of because usually, as you know, with ads, it has to be the royalty free music. You can't use the good tracks,
That's
So,
exactly right.
right. But you could use this to write your own, and it's pretty good. They give you the singers, the whole orchestra, like everything in any style you can think of.
Amazing. So
So
talk to
just,
me.
yeah.
There's some gold nuggets in there. It's fantastic. Talk to me about when you're playing with these tools and you're executing these small tests. What's your testing approach to that? To go, okay, this is my existing business. Here's my AI model. How do I compare the two? And how do I make sure that it doesn't just, oh, I think that worked, but actually here is the proven testing strategy to make sure
Yeah.
it had an impact and I saw an improvement or not?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think first of all is know what your workflow is. Like know
Mhm.
exactly what it is that you're trying to have AI and automation do for you. Instead of just diving right in because you need to know what you have to measure, right? So know what it is that you want it to produce and know how you're going to measure, okay, this is the standard that I want. So let's take ads, for example. I use AI a lot to write different variations of ads. And how do I measure it? Well, I actually just test it.
Mhm.
I just learned a long time ago just to remove all emotion. I just test it. it, right?
And so you go,
But
what, four or five headlines and go, right, I'm just going to test those
mhm.
AI variations.
Exactly. And then see how it works. So that's how I know that one's actually going to work.
Mhm.
And if it beats some of the stuff that we do against humans, that's even better, right? Then I'll
Yep.
know, wow, like this actually works pretty well. Now, with the copywriting, I also know that like AI has been doing copywriting now for a while. Like in the AI world, a while is over a year for sure. So I know that if it's not exactly what I want, then I can tinker with it to try and get it to work. On the other hand, I'm trying to work on a solution to actually have an AI go into a WordPress site and actually change the code on it in certain intervals during the year. That's
Yes.
much more complex.
Hmm.
That's possible. Um, but I'm thinking, well, I want this to be at least faster and cheaper, but I have to maintain the standard because we can't have any errors in the code. So I can build that out, right? But if it takes like 20 hours to do this when it would take a human 2 hours to do it, then I know that, okay, that's not working. I might try one other iteration to see if I can get it there, or I just might say, you know what, this is just the discrepancy is too large. So it will be there at some point, but I'm just, to me, it's not worth the effort to keep trying to tinker with it, right? And also because that particular task isn't a primary task in the business. It's just a nice to
It's a
have
nice to have,
something
yeah.
that would free up one of our, web development people from doing stuff and would make it more, we wouldn't have to double check things as much because it's just running, right? It's just
Totally. And
changing all
that's
the
where
dates or
that's where
something.
I think you get into this whole process automation piece, leveraging AI, when we really think, possibly in a year from now, maybe two, our businesses are going, we're going to be able to automate a lot of process in our businesses using AI.
Mhm.
Those basic
Mhm.
tasks that you're talking to, something needs to be updated on WordPress, something needs to go up on the social account, something needs to happen in the back end for a blog, being able to leverage these AI tools to actually make that happen, where humans were
Yes.
doing sort of more what I would call a mundane task to now be able
Mhm.
to focus on that highest and best
Yes.
use, right?
Yes, yes. And then on top of that, I think it's also to start moving towards autonomous agents, which
Mhm.
are ones that are making decisions independently. So I kind of envision something where it's getting real-time data from your socials, like you mentioned, and then it's not just posting, it's actually going back and recreating, maybe taking a look at your winners. This is what I would do. I would want it to look at the winners over the past, say, 90 days, take those, make variations of them in different ways is as images, as videos, as like threads and posts, and then put it back through the publishing channel and
Mhm.
then do just and then it's just constantly analyzing because that's really what we as humans are doing.
Well,
But
that's
the
the
next
feedback
step.
loop, right? That's the
Mhm.
feedback loop to be
Yes.
able to go, right, okay,
Yes.
now I've put it in. What do I know? What have we tested? What's the outcome? Go again. And I think as we could probably agree as marketers and media advertising experts that the amount of tests that you want to do versus the amount of tests that you end up doing, there's a large discrepancy there.
Oh,
However,
huge,
yeah,
huge.
I know, right? So with the advancements in AI, we are going to be able to test a lot more, a lot faster. And I think that's where we're going to get the huge breakthroughs in our results.
Yes.
And then actually
Yes.
driving that really strong, from a media advertising point of view, really strong return on investment. Now, tell me,
Yes.
Liana, what are the most effective AI powered tools that are currently being used for media advertising and specifically lead generation? What are you seeing out there at the moment that's starting to break through, get amazing results?
Sure. So, first of all, I have custom bots that I use for writing the copy. And I think that's important because it starts from the ad and the lead magnet and your funnel and all of that.
Mhm.
I use almost primarily that. I do have a human copywriter to help review things. But what I find is it's really helpful for it to gather all the data for you. Like I'll give it testimonials. I'll give it literally any background information. Like if there is, say, a webinar that was done or something. I've done that before. I just took the transcript and I uploaded all of it. I just give all of the data to it so that it has a better context of what actually we're doing instead of just saying write me an ad to sell shoes, right? Like it does
Mhm.
not, that's not enough to go deeper. You're just going to get generic content. And then I have custom bots where it will do various things. It will pick out the pain points. It'll decide what's the top leveraged pain points for this audience and then start to write the copy. So I do use that quite a bit. And I'm in the process of like automating chunks of it so that we're not just copying and pasting text from bot to bot. So that's one
Fantastic. And
thing. Yeah.
question there, are you continuing to refine the power of those bots? So it's not like a just a plug and play where you just leave it. You're actually
Yes.
consistently refining the way in which they
Yes.
operate.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. You have to. And I also use it to just get out of your own brain. Like even if you have a team of creatives, you're all gonna still be limited by each person's world view, right? So
Mhm.
I also use it to try and come up with very diverse points of view and designs because with advertising, you sometimes you have to put out the opposite basically in order to send signals to the platforms like go look somewhere else or try something else. So I'll use that.
Correct. Yeah.
I also really like Gamma app, and it's Gamma
Gamma app.
GAMMA dot
Okay. So sorry, say that
app.
again.
Gamma app, GAMMA dot app. It will, with a prompt, it will create a PowerPoint for you, basically. And I used to use beautiful dot AI. This is way better, but here's what I've been actually been using it for. I've been using it to create ugly VSLs. So yes, there are people using it to create their courses and their presentations, and that's awesome. But what I found it's really helpful is just to create down and dirty, 2 or 3 minute, if you have a 2 or 3 minute ugly VSL where it's just the text on the screen,
Yeah.
I create it in there. I delete all the images actually, and it's got the animation, and we just do it. I'm actually using it in the campaign right now, and we are so surprised. We have an AI voice from 11 Labs on like just reading the content,
Mhm.
and then the video is the ugly VSL. And yeah, and it's converting. And we're like, should we change it? No.
And
So,
here's the thing, right? The data, you have to let the testing take place so that the data informs. Because if we let our opinions as humans get in,
yeah.
8 times out of 10, we're wrong, right? So,
Oh,
okay, fantastic.
yes. Yes. I agree with that. Yeah.
And
So,
where do you see, are you going to keep evolving in this platform with the VSLs, or are you using a combination of platforms to get to that outcome?
yes. So, the other thing I start to do is use it to analyze. So, I'll take the engagement, like all the viewership information, right, for a particular VSL, and I'll take the transcript and I'll put it into one of my custom conversion optimization bots. And I'll ask it to break it down, give me an analysis. Why are people dropping off? What do we need to do there? And it gives us actually the way that I have it programmed, it will give it to me in 3 tiers, like quick wins, medium, and this will take longer so that we can figure out what we want to test.
Wow.
Then this was really cool. I just jumped into AI Studio for Google, and the latest experimental model. By the time people are hearing this, this is probably going to be old hat. But what I've been doing is I've been uploading just 1 to 2 minute videos and asking it to analyze the scenes and break it down. It's actually viewing the video. Like it's saying, there's a man on the screen doing this, and it can read the words. I'll take that text and put it into that analysis bot I just talked about, and I'll also get another dimension because now it sees the words, right, of what was on the screen, and then also gives it to me more in context of what can we change? Like, are the transitions too fast or too short, or it's too boring, or what else should we put on the screen?
Yeah, wow, that's
And that was
incredible.
really cool.
And yeah, absolutely. And also just getting the different perspectives and the different angles to look at something to drive a better outcome.
hmm
So that's
hmm
where we would be sitting there potentially on our own or with our team having that conversation. Now we've got other inputs to contribute to that result that are analyzing
Yes.
the data and all of the
Yes.
experience and expertise that have been plugged into these programs. That's what's just like
Yes.
mind blowing for me.
I
Is
know it's
that
crazy,
we are
right?
going to
And
be
then
able
it
to
just gives you even more
leverage
to
this.
test with.
I know, and that's the part is managing, which might be a good segue in terms of managing the excitement and overwhelm that comes. And I know because
hmm
I've been having conversations with a lot of CMOs and marketers, just being like, I get into this, Aleisha, and then I'm overwhelmed in 10 minutes, and so I plug myself out. So,
Yeah.
what would you advise, especially for CMOs with marketing teams? How would you advise them to kind of tackle this to avoid that over excitement and overwhelm, and then, oh my God, this is just too much right now, I'm going to leave. How would you
Yeah,
suggest they chunk it down to be able to actually immerse themselves in these platforms and start to
sure.
get some of the results that you're clearly getting using
Mhm.
using these
Yeah.
tools?
It all starts with play. It really does. Like I think people need to give their teams, say, you play with Suno, for example, just give them a few things to try and say, go for like next hour, all we're gonna do in the boardroom is we're gonna play together and that's it. So that's what, and then also that gets it out of your system, right? Because
Mhm.
everybody's gonna be like, oh my gosh, wow, like I think napkin.ai is another one that'll create all these charts for you. Like it just takes 2 seconds to put something in there and you get that wow factor. And then a few minutes later, people are like, okay, that's old hat now, right? So get rid of the FOMO that way.
Yeah.
And then I would suggest going back to basics, which is, I'm sure you know, it's being focused and very clear on your outcome. So give the team one thing, just one thing to do with AI. Like I would recommend starting with the using AI to write for you because that's just the easiest, I think, way to kind of get into it.
It's like the
And just
kindergarten, it's the intro step, right? To go, right, we're
exactly,
going to
yeah.
start here to then.
Just start with that. That's it, and just have it say, okay, like just have it write a couple of tests for us for our ads or headlines or something like that. Just do that. And just play with that until it gets to a point where it's much more advanced in terms of how you're using it. Because people will evolve. They'll say, "Oh, I can see it can do this." Well, wait, can it do that? Can it do that?
Yeah.
And I think it's also great to have almost like an AI implementer. I know we're making up all these titles for all these new positions, right? That don't exist, but there should be an expert in your group that they can go to because they can go to with their imagination and say, oh, I wish that it would do this, or how can it do that? And then that AI implementer person, human, would be able to assess, okay, like here's, well, maybe we can work on that. Maybe we can't. Maybe it's easy or not, and see, in just terms of how to deploy it to the rest of the team to use. But I think that's important to get that feedback loop, as you mentioned, right? Except this time it's based on, I think, problems people are having, but also just what can they imagine? Because really our imaginations is what's going to keep pushing this forward and how you can really leverage it for your business. Because it really, I've talked to people with a doctorate in AI and I asked them, like, this pair, I go, like, how do you come up with all these ideas? And they said, we focus on solving problems and we focus on expanding our imagination.
Wow,
And,
I think that's fantastic advice because that is exactly, and that whole AI implementer in the business, I think is
Mhm,
something that we're implementing at UEC as well. As we're doing,
mhm,
the team are off, okay, try this, try this, try this, doing the various R&D, and then
mhm.
once we kind of go, but hang on, we wanted to do this, so we wanted to do this. We were just doing a creative ad the other day, and we wanted a character to start moving on the screen using AI, and
Right.
it was just a collective conversation and a stimulation of ideas. Our AI implementer, which I'm now going to use that term, thank you, went
I
away
just
and
made
went,
it up right now.
I love it. It is now a term. We are using it. It is going to
That's
be
right.
implemented. It's Liana Ling, ladies and gentlemen. They came up with this term. So we are going, yeah, just to actually then we gave it to the AI implementer and then they made it happen. A week later, it was like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I can't believe we produced a creative campaign purely using AI. Like I was just,
Yeah.
when we had the conversation in December, we're like, right, this is what we're going to achieve. This is the outcome. Come January 31st, fully implemented, ready to go, creative campaign, no video production rooms, no actors.
Right.
It was just mind blowing. So that is brilliant advice. Thank you. Now, last question. I'm going to throw. This is a little bit of a curveball, but I'm going to throw it at you because I know that you've had a lot of experience in this space. Talking to CMOs, especially, there's a lot of conversation in and around first party data and setting yourself up, setting your CRMs up in order to be able to actually leverage AI going forward. Okay, so if you
Mhm.
take a typical CRM with customer data in it, it also has some form of marketing automation attached to it with workflows. Okay, and the businesses that have been building these workflows, these email chains, these SMS chains, these communication workflows, whatever you want to call it, are literally sitting there today going, great, if I've got Salesforce and I have 20 different workflows of current communications that I've got going out to customers, I can now bring the AI in and fully leverage that, optimize that, and take that to a whole new level. But then you've
Right.
got the businesses that are quite panicked. They've got multiple
Mhm.
systems, nothing talks to each other. Their first party data is pretty bad. And they don't actually historically have a lot of workflows there, knowing that
Mhm.
they need that to leverage AI to its full
Mhm.
capacity, especially in the media advertising and marketing space.
Mhm.
So, what would your advice be to probably those companies in the latter bucket that are feeling a bit stressed right now? They realize they're in a very fragmented state. They've got their MarTech stack is very complex, and they now need to really race to the start line to do this digital, not only this digital transformation, but this AI transformation. So what would you sort of share with them?
Yeah. I would go back to basics. And this goes back to when MarTech first started exploding on the scene. I find, and I still find it's today, people probably have way too many tech stacks and software that they need because they're just using whatever and they're not actually mapping it to a workflow that makes sense. They're just adding more stuff, and somehow it works most of the time, right? I find it's
Duct
gotten
tape,
even
duct
worse,
tape,
right, with
duct tape
AI.
gets
Exactly,
it.
exactly. So I would just start, again, go back to basics. Start documenting what your workflows are. Okay?
Mhm.
It sounds a bit counterintuitive to do that, but you have to, again, you have to be very specific in the outcome of what you want in order for AI to work with you. And I know that sounds like it's going to take a long time, but I don't really think it will. Like you can even just start talking into ChatGPT, telling it what your process is and asking it to just create the process for you and then even improve it. Because once you have that, then I actually think it's easy because once you have your process, then you can look at it and go, okay, you can actually ask AI, what are the places that we should automate and use AI on here? Or can we do the whole thing? Right.
Yeah.
And then I'll just do it for you. So,
And
but
then
you
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 can get the
need
leverage.
exactly, but you have to have that workflow, which is not sexy to do, right? Nobody likes to do it. Very few people like to do it, I would say. But it can be just as easy as, using your phone with the ChatGPT app on it and just talking into it. And I find a lot of times people just can talk, right? You can also use the video. I've used the video option now as well, just to show like, okay, they're doing this. Please document what it is that this person's doing. We're going to add that to the SOP. That because yeah, the more clear you are there, honestly, the more efficient you will be, and the faster you'll be able to get up and running with AI. And then you can just choose one thing to try. Just start with one thing, because once you start, I guarantee, like once you start getting it and seeing it, then you're just gonna want to go faster.
And it creates that momentum, right? It's like that first, I
Yeah,
always say the first pull of the merry-go-round is the hardest, but once the merry-go-round's moving, you're just tapping, right? So
that's right.
the
Yes.
sooner you do that first pull of the merry-go-round, the better off you're going to be. And I
Yeah.
think we
Mhm.
overthink the complexity of what we're going to be faced with. But if we actually
Mhm.
just start pulling, we're going to be able to get there
Mhm.
much faster. So,
Yes.
Liana, thank
Yes.
you so much for all of this incredible advice that you've shared with us this morning. I know our listeners are going to benefit massively from it. And I just want to say a huge thank you for being so willing to give and to be able to share all of this amazing information with us, because I feel like everyone's really going to benefit from what you've said. So thank you so much. Okay, and that's a wrap of episode 1, The Black Box of Media. Liana Ling has shared some absolute gold today on AI, automation, and the future of media advertising. I know you'll walk away with actionable strategies to start implementing in your own business. If you've loved this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your team, share it with your network, or anyone who needs to hear these game changing ideas. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What was your biggest takeaway? Drop me a DM on LinkedIn or comment in the episode posts. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming next. We've got an incredible lineup of industry leaders ready to lift the lid on even more powerful strategies going forward. So until next time, keep testing, keep optimizing, and keep pushing boundaries of what's possible. Let's unlock the black box of media together. See you in the next episode.